sewing friends, Me Made May has officially come to a close. Happy June, happy Pride Month. But before we get into the new month, I thought I would share a little bit about my goals that I had at the beginning of Me Made May, how far I got with those, and share a few of my favorite outfits from the Me Made May But Make It Weird challenge. So I had three major goals for Me Made May. The first one was to go through the items that are not in my closet. So I have a very, very small closet space in my bedroom, and I make sure that what is in there is only the stuff that fits my body as it is currently. I go through quite a lot of size and weight fluctuation, particularly season to season. So I only want what's in my closet to be things that fit my body as it is right now, and also to fit the general climate that we're in, which I will tell you in the springtime is quite hard because through the month of May, we had weeks where it was just bloody hot and miserable. We are in a house built for keeping the heat in, which is great for our gas bill in the wintertime. However, in the summer, in the warm weather, it really just like traps the heat and is rough. Yeah, no air co to be seen here. So there's that. But then we also had a couple of weeks where it was downright cold and rainy. So need to kind of have both things in my closet at the moment. But that really means that things that don't fit me are in need of some kind of repair or alteration or refashion. They live up here most of the time, and it does get a little bit out of sight, out of mind. So I'm working on decluttering my house, which is a long and emotional journey. And I will say I didn't get as far with this one, with this goal, as I had hoped. Now was able to identify like a big stack of things that, whether they fit me or not, are just not my style anymore. And it was very difficult, especially with things that I've made, but also, again, because of body fluctuations, I'm hesitant to get rid of things that maybe don't fit me now, but they might fit me again. So I did take out a big stack of things that they might fit me again at some other point, but I don't think they're really in line with where my style has been going the last couple of years. So I was able to pass those along, but I didn't quite get into the things that I do like, but don't fit me right now, that either need to be fast-tracked to the sewing machine for a refashion or alteration, or probably just passed along to someone else for now, and really try to keep those just in case items for when my body does fluctuate. Just have less of them is the goal. So I didn't make it as far as I would have liked to on that end of things, but I did still make some progress. Goal number 2 was to fast track some repairs that I had already identified at the beginning of the month. I had 3 items in that, and of the 3, I did manage to do one, this top right here. And then I also grabbed another item that hadn't been in my closet yet. And when I put it on, I was like, oh, it fits really great, except the arms were a little bit tight here with the elastic. So I just took about 10 minutes and I opened up that seam, I let the elastic out, stitched it back up, and now it is in my closet. And that's the kind of quick fix that can take me like a year to get around to. So I was really happy with myself that as soon as it came into rotation into my closet, I identified oh, this needs a really quick fix, and then I just did it. So that is a huge win for me. And my third goal was to participate in Sew Alicia's Me Made May But Make It Weird outfit prompt challenge. So every day she had a fun little, prompt that sometimes it's an action, sometimes it's pretend you're this character in this situation, and then use what you have in your closet, ideally something me-made, to interpret that prompt. And I had a lot of fun with that. I will say at the end of the month, I was doing more house projects. I spent a lot of time painting. There were days where I did wear me-mades because I happened to have kind of loungy sweats sort of outfits that I could paint in, or run around and do errands, whatever, but I did kind of fall off of the challenge part of it. So I'm not going to share every day because some of those outfits, those painting outfits were pretty boring. So I'm not going to go through every day, but I'm going to kind of share a couple of my favorites from the last 2 weeks. If you want a full coverage version, I did one a couple weeks ago of the 1st through the 16th where I looked at the outfits that I wore every day, and that was super fun. But yeah, it just got a little bit boring toward the end of the month because real life stuff. So skipping to day 20, the prompt was, you didn't like the price tag, so you sewed it yourself and paid for it in emotional damage. Now, I have an item that absolutely fits this, or I will say, because this prompt made me realize that I don't need to keep something that gives me the ick. And so I don't have a whole lot of pieces in my wardrobe that are like one-for-one inspiration to finished garment necessarily. Most of the time that I'm looking at trends or things like in the shops, I'm mostly looking at, what I create from that inspiration is kind of more an interpretation or like an amalgamation of many other versions. It's not usually just like a one-to-one, like copy and paste kind of thing, though I totally respect folks that do that. That's really a whole other skill, and that's amazing. I don't have very many of those in my closet, but I do have one. And last fall, I made kind of a dupe or copy of the like Taylor Swift tulle athletic skirt that was everywhere, I think in like 2024. And I made it as a pattern test, and I had a lot of feedback because the sewing process was awful. And then at the very, very end, I made a very dumb mistake. So yeah, I put in all of this work and refitted it and did all this stuff. And then at the very end, despite painstakingly marking the right and wrong sides of all of my fabric, I managed to sew the front gathered tier of the athletic mesh wrong side out. And you can absolutely tell. And I was not going to do that again because gathering athletic mesh is not for the faint of heart. It is absolutely a test in patience, and patience that I didn't have. So I didn't enjoy the pattern construction. I understand why she prioritized certain details of the situation and that then the construction had to follow that in this way, but I think is just not a very user-friendly way of doing it. I think it would have been better to compromise and do similar details, but again, not like one-for-one copying. For home sewing. For industrial sewing, like sure, that kind of construction made sense, but not for home sewing. So I hated the construction. I didn't like making it. And then it is on me that I didn't like the result because of my silly mistake. And every time I put it on, I would just like get the ick. And having it be in this prompt made me realize like, I don't need to keep something that gives me the ick every time I put it on. Like, it seems like it's such a useful piece, but if I hate wearing it, I don't need to own it. So I just threw it away. I threw it away because nobody else wants it either, unless I were to go back and fix that whole aspect of it. So anyway, for this prompt, I ended up taking it a different direction because again, I don't have very many pieces that are like a sew the look kind of thing. But what I do have was a piece where it wasn't about the price tag, but it was, I didn't like the size on the label. And that is the Bolt t-shirt that I picked up last summer from Portland. They only had extra large and extra small, so I picked myself up an extra large, and I took it all apart and I resized it using the Jackson and Dawson patterns from Helen's closet, kind of mashing them together. I resewed it. Now it fits me perfectly. It's wonderful, and it is one of my absolute favorite t-shirts to wear. It is probably my favorite of all the graphic tees that I own. The fit is great. I love that I'm like representing sewing in a very like cute way that I think is really fun. So that's what I kind of reworked for this prompt. So instead of you didn't like the price, I didn't like the size that was originally on the label. And that is the power of sewing, getting to find things that we love and ready to wear and then make them work for us. Day 21 is you're the only one in the whole office that knows the printer's secret ritual. So this could not be farther from me and my life, I will say. I am technologically quite challenged, and we have a running joke that my partner, like, I can't get something to work, my partner just has to touch it, and then like the problem just is gone. So I'm absolutely not this person. And I'm also not very like corporately styled, which is fine for me because I work from home. If I had a real job, I have a real job. If I had a job in a office environment, I would need to definitely rework my wardrobe. So I was gonna really try to go very corporate looking for this day, but it ended up being like really, really hot all of a sudden. So I swapped some things around, and where I was going to wear like my velvet straight trousers, they have a little check on them with this top. I was gonna wear some loafers and some little socks. I ended up wearing my Bernadette skirt which was still a wool. It still like felt kind of corporate-ish, but I wore it for the first time with nothing underneath it. And it's also like a color combination that I would not have initially put together with this top, because this is more of like a dusty kind of, I don't know, like a sagey duck egg kind of bluish green. And then my Bernadette skirt is definitely very like olive toned. And so it's not one that I would usually put together, but I actually really liked the way that it came together. And then at that point, I was also like, well, I'm this far away from anything corporate looking, so I'm just gonna add my baseball cap because I think I hadn't washed my hair that day. I think I just needed to wear a baseball cap on that day. And then it was way too hot for loafers, so I switched it out for sandals. So I decided that for the prompt about being, you know, in an office, that maybe this was the office of like a summer camp or something, and I'm the one camp counselor that is able to get the printer to work for our flyers. So again, the prompt itself, or my initial interpretation, was very like outside my usual style, but then I just kind of, you know, found ways to alter it up a little bit and suit what I have in my closet, but also like the weather and what I was doing that day, which was, you know, not washing my hair and running errands and walking around a whole bunch. So I needed to keep cool. For May 22nd, I kept to a little bit more of a literal interpretation of the prompt, which is that you have the misplaced bravery of someone that wears white while cooking tomato sauce. Now, I will say that I have learned tomato sauce actually comes out of white fabric pretty easily if you get to it quickly and you can just like do a quick machine wash. I usually have pretty good luck, but I've had to learn that, and I have learned it, yeah, through many iterations. And for the most part, I do put on an apron while I am cooking if I'm wearing something that I have made before. Then I will say, I ended up eating dinner with my in-laws on this particular day, and I did change out of the white top because we were having lasagna. So I did put on a different shirt for that. But for the day and for the interpretation of the prompt, I did wear a white top that, if you watched my spring sewing plans, I had actually planned on using some kind of dye to tone down, because it's very much white, which is not my best color. But actually, since I have made the Bernadette skirt that I wore with it on this day, which is a blue and white linen stripe, I really, really like the way that the white looks with this. And so I think I'm not going to dye it. I think I'm just going to, you know, accept that not everything has to like be the most flattering. And like, yeah, if I look a little bit sallowed, a little bit grayed out, you know, I'll just put on a little bit more blush that day. Like, it's not that big of a deal. I think people can get really, really intense about like, oh, that's not in my color season. Like this one, It's very firmly not in my color season, but I really like this outfit. And so I think I'm gonna keep it the way it is. And I really like it. So 2 days in a row, a Bernadette skirt from Friday Pattern Company, but this one in a more like summery linen with my Seamwork Madhu top. I really love this look, and I think it was really perfect for a very literal interpretation of the prompt. So for May 25th, it was so hot here, and I would have loved to incorporate some of the mermaidness of the prompt, which was a mermaid has washed ashore and is loving the 1990s throwback vibes. It was so hot though, I basically just needed to put on, just wear as little clothing as possible. And so I went for the 90s interpretation. I wore my ready to wear American Eagle, like sunflower shorts. And I always think of this like kind of faded sunflower print as very 90s. And then they are like, I think they're even called like 90s mom fit shorts. So I was like, well, that definitely works. I paired them with my sunflower earrings for, again, that vibe. I don't know if like sunflowers is the like 90s pinnacle that I have in my head, or if it's just that my mom does not like sunflowers, but she had a sunflower perfume. And so I always associate, because I associate her in the 90s with that perfume, I associate the 90s with sunflowers. If you made it through that train of thought, like, good job, because I know that was kind of convoluted. But so I wore those two things with one of my absolute favorite pieces in my summer wardrobe. It's the Pattern Scout Hana tank in a enzyme washed linen in this like kind of bright olive or like fresh olive color that I absolutely love. So it has a little tie front, it's got shell buttons. So I did really love this outfit. I don't feel like it's maybe the epitome of what the prompt could be. I saw some really, really fun ones that embraced more of the like sea mermaid side of it. But for staying cool when it was like 30 degrees, I think I did okay. The 26th was another absolute scorcher, and for this one, I did just ignore the prompt pretty much entirely, but I still wanted to share what I wore because it was a bit special. This was the day that I went to see Harry Styles with a couple of friends, so I had a chance to wear my bright, bright pink glitter linen Lockhart dress that I made last year for a bachelorette party, and I happened to be going with the now since married bachelorette that I made it for last year. So it seemed like doubly appropriate, yeah, to just wear like the silliest thing in my wardrobe for a Harry Styles concert, and then the fact that I was going with her and the other friends that had gone to the bachelorette party that I organized the bachelorette party for last year was very fun. And it was actually like somewhat, I don't think anything else would have really kept me any cooler than this dress happened to. I was laughing so much, laughing and crying a little bit when I was reading like the FAQs for the venue, because it was a big stadium, about like what you can bring or not bring. It had a note in there about hot weather, and it said that although the weather outside is very, very hot, be sure to bring layers because it will be cool inside. So I brought my denim jacket, I carried it around with me, but up in the second balcony, there was no airco. It was not cold. We were just like sweating so much. It was still a great concert. We had a lot of fun dancing, but like my poor neighbor, stranger, every time I would like bump her, our skin was just like sticky. Like it made a sound like every time we like touched and then pulled away. It was so, so warm, but I do think it was the perfect thing to wear for the Harry Styles concert. So the last outfit that I have to share for now was May 30th, and that one was very sewing related and very fun, a little bit wordy, so I'll see if I can remember it. You said to the fabric that it was time. The fabric agreed, and there was a moment between you. So for this one, I wore the dress that I've most recently made, and last week I talked about it on here as part of my May makes, and I said I wasn't really sure if I like it, and I'm not sure if it is just that I'm not used to it. It's a very different color scheme, pattern scale, and silhouette. So both the fabric and the pattern were kind of like outside of my comfort zone. So is it just that I'm not used to it, or is it not for me? Do I just not like it? And I was like a bit unsure. So I wanted to wear it around a little bit. And the way that I found that it worked most for me was to toss on my denim vest. It is the Hartwell from Cashmerette. Oh, the dress is the Chalk and Notch Shay. I don't think I said that. And for one, it really helps because I had mentioned that I made the shoulders. It's like a bit too long in the shoulder. I have ordered little like the little bra strap retainers, which I think will help it. Like if it's anchored to my bra, then it's not going to fall off my shoulders as it is now. But it also didn't fall off my shoulders when I put on the vest, as long as the vest was buttoned up because it's quite fitted. It just kind of held everything in place. And it also broke up the print, which I think really works. And so for that, I want to wear it on its own one more time, really give it a chance. But I'm thinking I might take it apart at the waist and add a waistband to make a skirt and then just hem it for the top. And if I do it as separates, I think I would wear it a little bit more because yeah, it's a lot of pattern to cover at a big scale. Like the flowers are mostly like around this big, which is not a scale of pattern that I usually, or a scale of a print that I usually wear. And then to have it, you know, from shoulder to ankle is quite a bit. It's a lot. It's a lot going on. So I think breaking it up might be the way to go. I'm going to wear it around one more time to see if I change my mind. Maybe I just need to get used to it a little bit more. But yeah, I thought that was this was a good way of practicing getting out of my comfort zone a little bit. And as far as the prompt goes, I do think this is one that I love the fabric, even though it is quite different for me, and it has sat around in my stash for quite a while. So I do feel like we kind of had a moment of like, today's the day, we're gonna actually do this. It wasn't part of my sewing plans for spring. It just kind of snuck right in there. So I think that it counts for we had a bit of a moment. So that was my Me Made May kind of in a nutshell. I hope you enjoyed this kind of, it's a little bit random, a little smattering of different things as I recapped for this one. I really, really enjoyed particularly So Alicia's coverage of Me Made May, not only for starting the whole prompt business, but then she's also saved everybody's entry as long as people tagged her in either their photos or their stories, their reels, she actually saved them to her Instagram. So that was a really great way, very, very labor intensive on her part, but a great way to kind of combat the way Instagram has changed working with hashtags and how everything just kind of like disappears nowadays. I think there's also a thread on Threadloop with all of that. I might go in and post mine in there, you know, a bit after the fact. But if you wanted to see all of my outfits, I do have a highlight saved on my Instagram. And if I get the time and energy, I'll try to put them into a short here for YouTube so you can just kind of flip through them real quick. But yeah, that was my Me Made May. It was super, super fun. I always love being like stretched a little bit creatively with an outfit challenge. And then, yeah, my other two goals were very, very practical as I'm working on decluttering things and working on my process of letting things go a little bit. So I'm not there yet, but I did make some progress. So that is all from me. I would love to hear how your month went, if you participated either fully or sporadically or just had fun watching. I would love to hear from you about your experience with Me Made May. And yeah, what's your general like orientation to the things that you wear? So I'm gonna go. I'm heckin' thirsty. It is still quite warm up here. The weather has calmed down a bit, but it's, you know, it all congregates. All of the heat gets trapped in this room. So I'm gonna go, and I hope you have a wonderful week full of wonderful outfit creativity, some great sewing successes hopefully are in your future or happening right now, and I'll see you next time. Until then, happy making. Bye!